Hi, everybody. My name's Nicole. I'm one of the business development executives at Railbookers and Amtrak Vacations. And I've been in industry about 17 years. I started in retail and I did some wholesale. And I've been at Railbookers and Amtrak Vacations for about a year and just returned back from maternity leave. Had a little 6-month-old baby named Riley. But I just wanted to explain the benefits of Railbookers and Amtrak's and explain that we can still do last minute holidays, but we can also do for 2 years in advance. And I'll explain how we can do that. So we are a global company. We have over 300 staff now all around the world, but we have products pretty much in every continent except for Antarctica, where there is no trains. But I just wanted to point out some amazing luxury trips that we can do, but also the different rail networks for independent trips. So we are more a independent rail packager, not just a rail ticketer. And a lot of our agents, they love us because we only ask for a small deposit of $250 per person, unless it's a luxury train. They range from 15 to 25%, but then we lock in that currency. So first up, Amtrak Vacations. We are the official tour operator for the US. We can do car rental, we can do multiple trains, sleeper trains, we can do national park lodges, we can combine with the Rocky Mountain in US, and we can also combine with Canada. So we have amazing trips through the national parks in the US. We also do Alaska. So this is especially handy if you have a cruise. We can do an independent trip before or after the cruise. We can even do a train up to Fairbanks to see the Northern Lights. In Canada, we have access to the Via Rail network. So there's over 500 trains in Canada. You can even get the train up to Churchill to see the polar bears, or we can do trains up to Montreal, Quebec, across to Halifax. But one of the bucket list train items is going across Canada on the transcontinental. The schedule doesn't go every day, so our expert team in Australia can help assist to check the schedules and the availability. And this train is amazing. So it's like 4 days across the country, but we usually break it up. You can, for example, do a package starting in Toronto, doing Niagara Falls. Every time you go through a province, you can try the local food and the beer and wine. Maybe you try like the salmon, or you can try beaver's tail, which is a pastry made of chocolate and nuts. When you get to the Rockies, we can either combine that with the Rocky Mountaineer, very famous, or we can do the Via Rail. So even past October during the winter, we can do the Via Rail. We can even connect it across down to the US as well. One of our new destinations that we launched this year is South America. So we can do the trains in Peru, so the famous Harumbingham, going up to Machu Picchu from Cusco to Aguascalientes, or you can get the Andean Explorer down from Cusco to Arequipa. We are actually Belmon's one of their biggest customers, but obviously from Australia and New Zealand, you don't go all the way just for one night, so we can package up around it. We have some amazing packages in South America that can combine with Amazon and the Galapagos, also through Peru. And then also we do sell Australian, all the different itineraries there, including the Spirit of Queensland, the Great Southern, again, and Indian Pacific. Again, this year we launched some amazing New Zealand packages. So we have a range of 6 itineraries that cover the 3 amazing trains there with Kiwi Rail. And also we can do adventure activities. We have cultural shows, and we can include the intercoastal ferry. Heading up to Asia, we can do the Eastern Oriental Express, Malaysia, Singapore. We have trips in India. We can do the luxury trains, the Maharaja Express. And then Europe, which is the favorite, of course, from Australia and New Zealand. So Switzerland and Italy is our top sellers. The Glacier and Bernina Express. So my parents were lucky enough to do that in December. They had a white Christmas there. We do the luxury trains in Spain, in the north and the south, a little bit like a hotel or cruise on wheels. So you have all your excursions, your meals, you have entertainment on board. We sell the Golden Eagle, which covers Eastern Europe. They have some very luxurious, absolutely spectacular experiences that you can do. For example, you can learn the Viennese waltz and then go to the orchestra on New Year's Eve. The Venice Simplon Orient Express, which is probably the most famous and luxurious. They have over 60 different routes all through Europe. They have a famous cocktail on there called the Agatha Christie, which is 7 ingredients, which represent the 7 suspects on the Murder on the Orient Express. And we also do the famous Royal Scotsman, where the Queen used to go on. You can make your own whiskey on there. And Norway, so we can do the Flamsbana. We do have Norway in a nutshell packages, or we can extend across to Scandinavia. So we definitely have a huge product range. And as I mentioned, we can do up to 24 months in advance. And the reason we can do this is because we have so many rail partners and contracts, and we have teams that book the seats. We have teams that deal with disruptions in case there is any delays or strikes. And our team in Australia, they have intensive weeks of training of all the different train systems. So we talk about trains all day, every day, but it is a one-stop shop. So hotels, sightseeing, we even do the ferry network in Europe. So if you want to add that Ireland or Norway or Greece, we can do that in Europe as well. As I mentioned, we are a one-stop shop. We want to save you time. So we do have contracts with all the different hotels, like 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, with some of the big chains, but also family and boutique hotels. And we can do all different trains. We can do the Swiss Pass. We can even do cruise port transfers. We have a brochure just on suggested pre and post cruise transfers, but also around the different rivers. So like the Rhine River, the Danube. So we can send through the details there. That's listed under our brochures on the agent portal, which I'll explain some more. We can even do the transfers from, say, Venice, where the cruises can't come into the port anymore. And we can even do buses. So, for example, between Spain and Portugal, some of them is not direct trains, but we can do the coach instead. So we really are a one-stop shop. The benefit of train travel is that, especially in Europe, that you will arrive into the city centre. So you're not having to deal with airport security. You don't have to deal with lining up, and then you're skipping a lot of the traffic. I know I wouldn't want to drive in Italy or France myself. And we have some great interactive maps on our website to show where the train arrives, where the big attractions are, and we have pages that list the different sightseeing. So the different travel styles, we cater for everybody. When I'm ringing out the different agents, some friends that are copying other friends' holidays, some is their luxury trip, some it's their once in a lifetime trip, or they're visiting friends and family that maybe work over in Canada or in Europe, or they really want to do a luxury one after they do a cruise. So there's so many reasons why I can do trains. You've got the famous trains, as I mentioned, particularly Switzerland. They're the experts, and they do the incredible cable cars as well. You have the luxury trains. We have some colleagues that are lucky enough to be on the Rovers Rail in South Africa, so we can't wait to see videos. Absolutely luxurious experience. We can do pre and post cruise extensions. That's including in Alaska, US, and Europe, but all over the world. And once in a lifetime, if you want to cross off those, wonders of the world. We also have a signature range. So we have a digital brochure just on this. But for example, you could stay at the top of Gonnegrut in Switzerland, 360-degree views of the mountains, or you could spend a night at Mont Saint Michel in France, or you could have a picnic at the Rock in Norway, or blend your own wine in France in a private tasting. We do the sleeper trains that's around the world. Even in the same itinerary, you might have a standard coach, or we can upgrade to sleeper. Europe is obviously very, very popular for the Australian and New Zealand markets. And so we can cater those things that you see on Instagram and Facebook. We can include that sightseeing as well. We can do skip the line, hop on, hop off. We have food tours. So we like to explain that the journey is part of the experience. So here's some of the train experiences that we capture. So very special. At the top left, there's the Venice Simplon Orient Express. We have the Canada and the US, absolutely amazing scenery. You might see some wildlife like bears or elk or some moose if you're lucky in Canada. Things that you don't see in Australia. You might go through the winter wonderland. We can combine with Christmas markets, or you might have Christmas in Europe, have a white Christmas. In the middle there, you've got the Flying Scotsman. So pretty amazing. You're starting at Waverley Station, you've got the bagpipes playing, you get on there, you have Scottish high tea. You can go see some of the scenery from movies like Outlander and Game of Thrones. In the middle there, that's the excellence class in the Glacier Express in Switzerland. So this is very special. There is actually only 20 seats on that one. They have a 5-course meal with all the wine included, and they call it the slowest express train. It covers like 91 different bridges, go through tunnels, mountains, glaciers, and also the Bernina Express, which goes over the viaduct from Switzerland to Italy, and you can pass through the Simplon Alps as well. So here's the differences, and you probably noticed some of the European countries are pushing train now instead of flights. So I guess we'd like to point out some benefits is that you can move around, you can meet people when you're in the observation deck or the dining room cart. Obviously, it's a bit of a slower way to travel, but sometimes it can take quicker because you're not waiting around in airport security. You don't have to be there 2 or 3 hours before. There's some really great business class lounges in a lot of the places, and you can have extra baggage you can store as well, and it's hassle-free to check in. There's lots of information desk, and on our documents we try to give you as much information as possible, especially when you're traveling on multiple trains in different countries in Europe. We have a list on our website for each destination where you can book all different sightseeing. So that could be from food or from art tours, or as I mentioned, skip the line, which I think is really important in Europe at the moment. You don't want to be spending half your day lining up for the famous attractions. We also give insider tips because our staff, a lot of them have been to all these places, and some places like Italy and Switzerland is our top sellers. We're talking about these places all day, every day. But this is a really handy tool to show your clients all the different ideas you can do for sightseeing and out-of-the-box ones as well. Here's an example of a link, so example in Italy. And we also give you insider advice. So just say you're looking last minute, everybody wants to go to Lake Como at the moment. To say there's not much availability with the hotels, we can switch sell. So for example, Lake Garda. So we have that knowledge as well. We can advise to help save time. As I mentioned, we have a mixture. We have the big chain hotels. So for example, like Accor or Fairmont in Canada. We also do some really wow hotels, luxury, especially in Switzerland and Italy. Or we can do the small family boutique hotels. We really focus on hotels that are close to the train station, but we also know the popular ones, and we take on the feedback as well. Our product team is always inspecting the different hotels and sightseeing to make sure they're up to standards, and we try to get as many perks as we can for our clients. So here's some examples, for example, in Switzerland. So that bottom left and then the bottom right, there's the 2 hotels that you can stay at the top of Gronegrat. So that's the steepest cog railway that goes up, and one of the oldest, but then you have 360-degree views of the Swiss Alps. We also have some luxury hotels that have been around for even 100 years kind of thing, and these are available all year round. So we have different contracts with rates there. So the advantage of us doing your trains and a package in Europe is that we can do the multiple trains and the hotels and sightseeing without you having to worry about the trains to timing out. As I mentioned, we can do the package with a deposit, $250 per person, unless it's a luxury train. We do require full payment within 90 days, unless it's an American package. So if you're looking in the next couple of months, it would be full payment, but we do have access to the availability, and we are keeping up to date with all the track work. So I know that's been happening a lot in Italy. We are keeping up to date. So this is a good example. Maybe they fly into London. We can do the Eurostar across to Paris, and then we can combine that maybe when they want to go to Switzerland, and then head across to Italy. Same with Eastern Europe. I don't know if you remember, but I've mentioned there's over 26,000 train stations in Europe. So it's a huge network. We have 2 websites. We have the railbookers.com.au and the amtrakvacations.com.au, and there's over 600 suggested packages, but we can tailor them for your clients. So here's a popular package that is available for 2024. or up until 2 years, as I mentioned. So you might have a cruise that you've booked for next year. We can build around it for you. So this is a popular one. So classic Canada, Canada Rockies, even in the winter. So the Rocky Mountaineer usually finishes in October, but the Via Rail keeps going. So this is a great one. It starts in Toronto. We can even add Niagara Falls if they want to do that. Then they head across on the train. So they have standard, or they have sleeper plus, or they have an amazing prestige class. There is only 6 on the train though, but it has its own shower and ensuite, heated floors, and their own butler. And this is where you can see the amazing wildlife out the window. A lot of our staff in Canada, they have traveled to conferences on train, and they said it was a great way and really comfortable, saved a lot of time in airports. Then heading across to the Rockies. So years ago, I did a working holiday in Banff. So this is, close to my heart. Absolutely incredible scenery. You can't describe it. You just have to see it. They have beautiful glacial lakes and mountains. They have so much to do in summer and even in winter. So you got the skiing and the snow sledding, but in summer you have the kayaking and all the different hiking, and that's where you can see a lot of the wildlife. And then across to Vancouver. So maybe they want to add a cruise there, or we can head down to Seattle in the US with Amtrak, or we can head across to Alaska. So this is a really popular package. We do include a lot of the fantastic sightseeing. So in Jasper National Park, you've got the winter wildlife tour. I did something similar in Banff, and it's just amazing seeing the snowy crystal glaciers coming down on the ice walk. Sometimes they put maple syrup in the snow. It's just an amazing experience. We don't see that in Australia. The Via Rail has really good feedback on the food and the comfort, and you're arriving in great locations as well. Here's another popular one, the Glacier and the Bernina Express in Switzerland. So a little tip here is that it is actually pretty booked out this year because they have maintenance in November. We do have availability in limited seats, so we'll do our best to secure that for you. But then again, in advance, we can do up to 2 years. When I went to the Swiss tourism event lately, there are so many other scenic trains that you can see in Switzerland. So for example, Lucerne to Interlaken, you can do the Gotthard tunnels, and that includes a train and a panoramic cruise, so like a steam paddler. You can also do the Golden Pass, so that's Interlaken to Montreux in the French side. So there's so many trains that you can do in Switzerland. We do always like to include the Swiss Pass. So the Swiss Pass is a pass where you can get discounts on the attractions like the Gonagrat and Mount Pilatus, Mount Titulus, but you also have unlimited bus, local trains, and boats when you're going in each location, and also over 500 museums. And some of the museums are in castles, so it's pretty amazing. We've included the trains here. Where you see the dotted lines, that's the trains, and then in the circles, that's the hotels. Yesterday, actually, I did a webinar on Switzerland, and I surprised everybody because Tasmania is actually bigger than Switzerland in square kilometres. It's just that Switzerland has so many mountains and lakes and waterfalls and tunnels. It seems a lot bigger, but that's a fun fact for you. So here's another really popular one, the best of Switzerland. So as I mentioned, Switzerland, Italy is our top destinations. So we talk about Switzerland all day, every day. We have access to all the different trains, the different standards, and we have a huge range of hotels in each city and attractions, and also signature experiences as well. One of a really great tour from Montreux is the chocolate train. So that's a day trip. You even visit Gruyere, where the cheese factory is, and Kalia chocolate, which my parents think is better than the Lindt chocolate. In Zurich, you can go to the Lindt chocolate factory, and there's a day trip to Heideland. That's actually where Roger Federer is. We have a great video to explain the train station. It's very easy from the airport and then connecting across Switzerland. Zurich to Lucerne is actually only a 45-minute train. And then Lucerne, there's heaps of day trips that you can do. So Mount Titulus, which is over like 3,000 meters of sea level, 360-degree views of the Alps. And they also have some adventure things like a walk. Then you have the scenic train that goes from Lucerne to Interlaken. You're passing 5 different lakes. It's about a 2-hour trip. It does go in the winter as well. You have Interlaken is what I would call the Queenstown of Switzerland. So many activities you can do. And then the very famous Jungfraujoch. So that's like a series of different trains that go to the highest rail station in Europe. So you can either go via Lauterbrunnen, where the waterfalls are, or Grindelwald, and then do the other way around. As you know, Switzerland's not a cheap destination, but it's absolutely amazing, very, very scenic, great for the bucket list, and also for those people that have traveled a lot. I've already mentioned the Glacier Express, so that's the 8-hour trip, very luxurious. It goes to Zermatt, where the Matterhorn is. And fun fact here, the mountain is no longer on the Toblerone chocolate packet because it's not made in Switzerland anymore. You've also got the Bernina Express, so that's the one that goes from Italy across to Switzerland or vice versa. So the Glacier and Bernina are extremely popular. And then in Zermatt, you have the famous day trip to the Gonnegrad. That's the cog railway that goes up to the top. And as I mentioned, you can stay at the top there. So Italy is extremely popular in all our markets around the world, especially in, for example, Northeast US, because it's only a 6-hour flight for them to Italy. So that means we have a lot of product there. We even have apartments in Cinque Terre. We can do the transfers to the cruise terminals as well if they're doing a Mediterranean cruise. This is a really popular package that we can do that includes Florence, Como, Milan, Venice, and the Tuscany area. We can even combine across to Sicily. We do have overnight ferries even to Spain. We like to include the main sightseeing, so you're seeing that. We also recommend skip the line in Italy. So this is just a suggested package, but of course we can customize it for you. Italy is very busy at the moment. We do actually have an emergency line that we put on the documents. So just unfortunately, they do have delays and strikes. But if we know about the strike in advance, we will help the clients, especially if we've done it as a package, because we can amend the hotel and we can amend the sightseeing. And if we know about the strike in advance, we will help the client. This is another very popular one. So London and Paris to Avignon. Years ago, I went to Avignon. This is a stunning area. They have like medieval architecture. They also have like lavender fields nearby in the province. And it's easy to connect to like the French Riviera as well. But you're passing through vineyards, the train, it's absolutely amazing. You might have seen some of the scenery on shows like Emily in Paris. Obviously, Paris has got the Olympics coming up. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of allotment there during the Olympics, but straight after, we'll be able to help with the TGV all around France. On this tour, we have a lot of product in the UK as well, and we do have a UK office. So we can do things like the sightseeing pass, hop on, hop off, skip the line at Eiffel Tower, which is pretty important. You don't want to be spending the half of the day lining up, and also a river cruise and skipping the line in the Louvre, which is also important. And if there's any like events at the time in Europe, we will try to keep up to date. And yeah, it's a great package. So just wanted to recap some of the benefits of Railbookers. So as I mentioned, we can book last minute. I'm speaking to some of the other suppliers like cruises. They are still getting last minute bookings, so we can help FIT around it. So you could do multiple countries, transfers, hotels, sightseeing, and the ferry network, including Greece. So we try to connect the dots. So just say you had a cruise or a tour, even booked next year or the year after, we can work around it for you. Or if they have a specific destination in mind, we can do that. Or we can add the luxury train, for example, to a package. We do instant quotes. So unfortunately, you can't book the train and the product on our website. We just have way too much product range and we do the 2 years in advance. But we do have a team waiting for your calls. Or on the bottom left of our websites, we have a callback. So you just put in your phone number and they call you back pretty quickly. Or if you log into the agent portal, so that's on the top right of our websites, you just put in your IATA, CLEAR, or TIDS number and email, and you log in, and that's our portal. There's an option where you can fill an instant quote. So if you know what you want for your clients, you can fill it in, and then our agents will put it together and call you back to make sure we have it right. We do have the flexible window, so as we mentioned, up to 24 months in advance. We do a mixture of hotels, 3, 4, 5-star hotel, even in the same itinerary. In Australia, we do take travel pay, Mint, credit card with no fee, and or direct debit. Our deposit's only 250 per person, unless there's a luxury train. So we'll advise that on the phone for you. Our staff, they get a lot of training. So maybe like 6 to 8 weeks intensive training of all the different train systems. So it saves you a lot of time, and you don't have to worry about, the trains timing out. You don't have to put reminders to remember when to book the different trains. We do that on our side. We probably have one of the most extensive product collections for a rail provider. And we can also do three-way call support. So just say your client's in front of you and they're asking lots of questions. We're happy to answer that on the phone for you. And as I mentioned, we have that emergency line. So for example, last year there was the bushfires in Canada. So we were assisting on the ground, helping when they're diverting the Rocky Mountaineer. And also in Europe, we help with a lot of train delays and strikes and things like that. So in the chat, I'm just wanting to see if there was any questions at all. This is our phone number there. We're open from 7:30 to 5:30. That's our website for Railbookers, but we also do have amtrakvacations.com.au. Any questions at all? I know that was a lot of information. This one's getting recorded, so you can always ask any questions, or I can send that through. No, so basically, I just wanted to say that we can book last minute up to 2 years in advance. We are a one-stop shop, and our boss likes to say the clouds look the same in the Europe, US, or Australia when you're flying. So you may as well see some scenery while you're traveling by train. Thanks for your time, everybody. Oh, yes. Sandy asked if there's an agent rate. Yes, we offer 20% off for you and 3 companions. So we like to say it's like an independent fam. So all you need to do is contact our reservation team, or on the portal, there is a form that you can fill in. If you want to go to Europe in the next year or so, you can fill that in and we can put that together for you. Thanks, Sandy. Any other questions? Put in the chat. Where does everyone go? Anyone to go by train? I keep adding to my bucket list. Awesome. Okay, I don't think there's any other questions. If there is, just send me through an email. You can contact, we've got 3 BDMs in Australia. We have Michelle, we have Craig and I, or you can contact our reservations team. They're happy to help. Thanks so much for your time and logging on.